hello, and welcome. This is Zero Pow Jimmy Pablo doing another talking discussion, episode 28. And the theme I'm going to be talking for this talking discussion is Fair Banking Act laws must happen to end payment processors' illegal blocking on consumers worldwide. And in this episode is about a bill that must continue its way to become law for a fair banking act to match the executive order that was issued by the US president a few weeks ago of August 7th, 2025, which stated that end payment processors from doing illegal blocking on consumers in the US and are hopeful for other countries to do the same, is similar, most likely the same fair banking laws worldwide as well. Now, the only reason why wanted to actually talk about this is over the past weeks and after the executive order was established, these payment processors have been going nuts. At the same time, these activist groups, they most likely were completely forced to try to make complaints and claims to payment processors, which they got influence and decided to go rogue into blocking everything they can against these giant game companies, to platforms like Steam and HDIO, which had content that they didn't perceive fitting for them. They didn't like what they seen. All of these bad moral policing events that happened was all because of the different beliefs over adult content from activist groups that they were inspired by a collective scout who demanded censoring, demonetized, or deplatformed just because it had sexualized of a digital person or sexual content enough that it get these companies, which the payment processors, to try to get them to undermine the free expression, customer choice, and the authenticity of creator rights, while being a cultural gatekeeper enforcing adults what content is best for them to purchase. And by far, that right there is illegal, because no matter what policies you have or of beliefs, or what type of beliefs, what type of ideas, or what type of person who, whatever side you're on, is buying this content, I have to get one thing straight. Look, these companies shouldn't dictate what adults should buy or not. If it runs under illegally by protected fair rights, and the thing doesn't necessarily have rather in government involvements, such as buying arsenal weapons, to buying drug things like that, then why the hell are we having this blocking surge in the first place on gaming? Which gaming comes to gamings, it has nothing to do with any of the topics we just discussed earlier, with illegal stuff that are completely bad. When it comes to gaming, are you really gonna be, these payment processors are really going to block that just because it's a game they don't like? That's too far. So this was just issued from the White House of the current president, the one that's now gonna be for the next 3 years, stating guaranteed fair banking for all Americans, meaning that anyone in the US should not go under the oppression. And he puts all the statement right here for you to take a look at, that any such bad practices that these banks are trying to establish is unlawful and should not be tolerated for any reason of unlawful debanking. And he's now requesting to ensure that the order is to come after noticing how bad the payment processors have, what they did was wrong. And that includes a lot of them, like similar to PayPal and other banking systems that been those lines. All of this that I don't want to read all of it because it goes through every single point of view, stating that look, when the payment processors are looking at transactions that are being purchased by adults, they're not to be doing illegal blocking and interference of that just because it's something they hate so much or something they don't inspire that much. Now, I've been with you since the very beginning of how it all started, and a lot of YouTubers and people out there have talked about this. They don't like what they see, what these payment processors have done, and they demanded fair rights upon purchasing their stuff. And the reason why I'm saying this is you can look at this article. Valve says PayPal support is no longer available in some regions due to content concerns. Content concerns, meaning that they just don't like the platform. And they're doing it on other sides of the country because they don't like what the platform is presenting in that thing. Rather, it's something they hate it or something they always wanted to do for so very long time. I don't know who's running the leadership here, but it states right here that Valve says that one of the PayPal's requiring banks has pulled support for Steam purchases due to content concerns impacting customers' shops on platforms certain currencies. The company offered of course, the withdrawal support regarding Steam related to commented by surrounding MasterCard. Valve maintains that MasterCard use like payment processors and banks to force to restrict the sales of NSFW with adult content, and MasterCard declined this belief in a statement which completely got backfired for that because that was them. It wasn't someone else. And a spokesperson of Valve between the ongoing controversy in the case PayPal's requiring decided to stop processors in any Steam transaction, which cut off PayPal on Steam for a number of currencies, they told. To me, it sounds like all of this that they're saying is they just don't want anything to do with this platform, which completely is illegal to actually buy games in. There is nothing wrong with this platform that makes them feel, even when they bent the knee, they still had the currency to block this. And it's easy to be confusing for some merchants, of course, versus the payment processors. Basically, the banks accept the payment from the customer, but the payment processor does the heavy lifting of actually authorizing, completing the transaction. Add that some platforms like PayPal can act as both, require completing the business transaction security through the money in one place. It's no surprise that these individuals are just upset that the fact that the content that they're doing this hard work on is something that they think is illegal when it's obviously not. Providing more content on Steam page, Valve said certain termination will affect Steam purchases using PayPal currencies other than the EUR, CAD, GBP, JPY, and then the AUD and USD. And these are like this one right here, this one I highlighted is mostly the Japan currency, and there's all the EU currency and the United States currency because of course their executive order. They wanted to so badly to stop this one, but thank God their executive order put that to a stop. It still works for those currencies because of the fact that these governments will not do some kind of discrimination, and they know why. But other countries are not so lucky. I'm asking right now because we've seen the impacts of what this thing is doing to a lot of users, that it's impacting most likely all the controversy around bad content that they believe doesn't feel right with them, and that's why they're upset. And the fact that now that the executive order has happened in the United States, they're currently very mad and pissed off that they're deciding to do this in a way to shut down the ratings on Steam as much as possible, maybe HDIO, depending on what, because they were going out of control crazy with other platforms doing the same thing. But now that the executive order happened in the United States, they're pissed. I can tell they're upset and mad that they can't block anybody in the United States for doing that. So they're trying to do it in regions that are not having that much government. My advice to them is this. Because there is a fallout going on, because the fact that there is this bad regulations of censorship going on, I want people who have good amount of money to use that money against them by filing lawsuits from their government to get these payment processors to understand that what they're doing is illegal, and customers have the right to purchase their stuff using those areas despite what they think it is. And if the government sees that these people do not want to cooperate, sanction their ass. Period. Just sanction them. No one should be forced to tell what's right for them to buy or to dictate what's best for them to buy. In another article here, Steam can't escape the fallout from its censorship controversy. As PayPal disappears for some Steam users around the world, Valve continues grappling with the pressures. It's really that bad. Even if the executive order is still around, they're still trying to shut down this apps from making good, having good game content within it, so that most individuals love and buy for most of the years, years with no problem. And all of a sudden, this is just a coincidence that all this is happening. It's not. All because Creative Scout, these activist groups, don't like what they see on this app and start complaining about it, thinking that it's protecting women's rights when it has nothing to do, because I've seen many women defending the gamers and the content that they buy, that because the fact that they themselves play those games too. I mean, if a woman like Stellar Blade is showing themselves with their skin, why do you want that block? Because, well, it's expressing too much skin of this woman, that it looks wrong for someone to play the game. That's BS. Women do like that kind of stuff, and don't get me started to say that, oh, well, there's so many points of that's just feminist talk at this point. I've seen many women defend gamers because they want to play these games. There is no obligation or any type of bad purposes or whatsoever telling anybody any of this stuff. And as we continue looking at this article, explaining right here that there's been recent attempts trying to purchase that can no longer use PayPal. It's not temporary bug, but it's another consequence of Steam's ongoing battle with the payment processors like Visa and MasterCard. In a quotation to Paper Rock Shotgun, Valve clarified that the disappearance of PayPal is related to offering specific type of content on Steam, such as surrounding MasterCard. In case of PayPal requiring banks decline to stop processing any Steam transaction while cut off PayPal on Steam for the number of currencies, said. But PayPal isn't gone for everyone. I just checked out into PayPal fine, because early July, the currencies can still use PayPal for EU and all these other ones that we said earlier right here to highlight them. While it means major currencies still have an option to this change will likely affect a lot of people around the world, because the fact that these individuals want to try to get this platform to change its stuff, which they're not going to, because they have rights to protect creator rights. So, in my opinion, yes, its own credit card option should start being applied to Steam, so that way it can go to every payment thing, so that way people around the world can use a different kind of card company. Because at this point, they're doing a lot of legal stuff, and that's gone a little too far. PayPal has also pulled some parts of Steam's platform, delisting a lot of adult-owned games, and that crackdown due to some pressure from payment processors that anti-violence against women groups called Collective Scouts, which had organized campaigns to limit the sales series like Grand Theft Auto, and all of these actions that payment insisted of product is legal. It insists that if it is a product is illegal, they will not tell vendors what they can and cannot sell. Period. They should not be telling them what they can and can sell. Val, however, has said the encouragement that reconsiders of what type of games it sells and comes with immediate like banks. Similar speaking on the behalf of the payment processors, whatever the case, Val's rules for platforming a game now the state that content must follow rules of the payment processors also affects other platforms like HDL as well as games like that induce mature themes. Steam's ongoing, which we've seen by far, extreme pressure leads to a gamer-led movement to harass payment processors if not widespread, and that we've seen a lot of that going on with the ramifications of the censorship, because it's true. And don't get me started with Collective Scout trying to say, oh, but it's the cuties we're trying to protect. We're trying to make sure that these young youths are not going to go on this stuff and try to, be exposed to all this sexual content or things that are not for them. First of all, it's the parents' job to not be lazy and to be a parent to not let these kids go into these platforms that are for adults to older teenagers without being, restricted, and to make sure they're always watching to know what they're going on. You know, these parents' job to ensure their children are always watched and know exactly what they're allowed and not allowed to go on when it comes to content like that. Rather, they're getting a PC, a console. Because I remember back in the old days, I was just a small child. I didn't have any of this Steam or PCs, any of that stuff. I started with a small Nintendo device. It was a small console when I was small, playing Nintendo. That's how I started. I don't know why, for some reason, the parents do not want to do their job, but it's their obligation to do so. It's their obligation to ensure they're doing their job right and not the wrong way. That's why it's important that just because you're trying to say that kids are being exposed to this doesn't mean that, oh, let's start censoring everything from the platform, let's start censoring everything from the content. No, that is complete false, because I know from other countries who don't have that kind of type of environment of their child being exposed to that, because governments do not let their parents, or most likely their parents from that are part of that government, do not have their children exposed to that. They ensure that they are completely watched, they're supervised and strict until they grow old enough and mature to handle that kind of content. There is no reason to put this as the meaning behind it. Now, I know about Roblox too, but that is their side of the different side of the story. However, when it comes to, the rest of mature stuff, these were not even meant for kids in the first place. I don't know why their parents have to be so lazy, but I think it's time that these parents do need to be called out and do need to take some steps up to actually be a parent and not be, lacking upon yourself to thinking your child's okay to be unwatched, unmonitored, and let them go on any device. No. There is so many devices easy that kids can access, and the parents' job is to ensure they're doing their job right, to not let them go on any of these devices, regardless. I remember the only thing I ever played when I was a small child was toys. That's the thing that's the only thing I mostly was doing. It's just nowadays the world, parents have stopped buying toys for their children. They're just putting them on game consoles, watching television, making them go on whatever things on YouTube. And that right there needs to be shown the truth that these parents are lazy. And we have to put that to a change. If it's wrong economy stuff that, oh, because we have to do this, we have to do that, that we don't want the child to be, always relying on, well, then this is the reason why voting matters in whatever country you're in. To make changes. If the system is not working and these same politicians, whatever government that's regulating, do not want to make any changes, then it's up to the citizens, whatever country that these people are in, to make a change towards a different party, that one that will make that change. Because by the end of the day, if Creative Scouts is using kids as an excuse to try to censor and block adults from buying the stuff, then this has gone way too far and out of line, and this is not even for them anymore. This is most likely benefit for just trying to get adults to be more restrict and having their free rights to choose as consumers. You know, there was a perfect example from Angry Joe when he saw the data resulting with the similar to like violent video games, making young youths more violent and more expected to do crime. It was proven wrong in Japan, and I think it was Japan, maybe it could be another country, when he showed the results that these young youths had the most violent video games in that country, and yet there was hardly little to no crime going on whatsoever in that region. Same thing with sexual content. If older youths that are close to the 18-year age get exposed to this, the collective style is claiming, well, if they see this stuff, then they're gonna end up trying to act out real life, become sexual predators, and start harassing women enough that they could try to seduce them into rape and to torture them, including exposing more. It can actually put multiple people doing the same thing. First of all, most of like me who played these type of games, we don't go start harassing and start trying to hit on women. And if we do have our women, we have mostly boundaries, respects, and laws that we have to follow. And I've seen myself, you know, with person that I do love, and I don't do something that results in trying to sexually harass her. No. In person, I was mostly holding her, but I would never do things that, you know, make her feel uncomfortable. And if we love each other so much, that's how you build a moral relationship, closer, engaging. Now, when it comes to strangers, I don't even go close to them. I'm loyal to only one person. What I'm trying to get the point here is us as guys, when it comes to each of these male populations, we have laws and policies for a reason. We have protection rights. And over time, you know, most of us don't do type of harassments, sexual harassments to any type of sexual bad behaviors because the fact that, oh, we're being exposed to this. Come on. It's like the violent video game. Like, what? Because we play a violent game, we're going to start doing robberies and start attacking people, trying to use knives and weapons? No. That's the point I'm trying to get. You see, it's gone to the point where things are getting really out of hand, with the UK now getting involved in censoring with their Online Safety Act for children. And you know how that turned out, was a complete blown away with all their signatures completely messing up so much that it's been a really devastating turn with their safety acting. I'm serious. If you were to look at their repeal of the Safety Act, look how badly it's gotten with their own fucking people. It got over this much people. And they're gonna be calling soon for a early election debate, which means that they want to have a re-election early, because they're tired of them censoring this. This is the bad. The numbers are extremely high. Many individuals are calling for an early election government this year instead of next year. They're tired of this shit. And we already have one government like UK Reform, who's also wants to repeal this Online Safety Act because it has nothing to do with protecting kids. It's most likely censoring content, violating free speech rights, and trying to pretend that, oh, but it's in service of protecting the kids. You care, look at the kids, think about the kids. Well, guess what? It is not for the kids. This is just to try to regulate, try to censor, and spy. Be a spy cam 24/7 on adults in the UK. Similar to China. What the hell is that? You know? And I'm not saying that there's a lot of bad things that are going on in the web, but it is job for the parents to actually help these individuals. Help these individual kids not be looking at that stuff. because of the fact that there is so much signatures happening, it is not up for debate. And right now, a lot of people are planning to vote for the the UK Reform Party because they want common sense. They want to change government, and they're tired of this. For so long, these people have tried everything in their power to try to get UK to be more of a better place. But ever since this Online Safety Act came through, it just was starting to break things. You could see from that these are the party of common sense, and they want to stop all the bad stuff that the UK has been doing with their new government. They're likely gonna win. If they won't make the change, these party is likely gonna win and take control of the government. So they better fucking start making their progress on reversing their course now, because if they won't, then another party will. And that's exactly what happened in the United States. That they didn't want to make the change, so another party did that change for them by replacing them through a vote. That's why everything that the payment processors has been going on, that's why everything around has been going on, because these activist groups have been going crazy, have been doing a lot of bad stuff around gamers and consumers alike. And I don't blame them. I don't blame them for their causes. But it's the truth. It is the truth. Concerning badness the way you see it, this is the reason why we need laws in place to ensure these card companies to banks, they cannot be messing around and trying to regulate what's best for adults. I'm asking anybody who knows about the one like this one you see right here, the Fairness Banking Act. If anyone knows about the bills, please call your legislators. Try to get this bill going through the House and the Senate already. Because it's better to have laws in place so these bankings cannot do anything bad to our communities and consumers. And they cannot be trying to force their political beliefs to any type of beliefs just because they don't like it. And trying to do illegal blocking because they feel like this is something that's not benefit for them and it's only benefit for some individual. Let me tell you something. What these laws that we want to have there is to ensure that no bank is allowed to restrict purchases regardless of what it is, because if they're refusing business, and you can see right here, to a person who complies with the law. Restricting includes prohibiting the use of transferring and termination and specific civil penalties, which banks and other institutions are allowed to deny to a person only if the is justified by a document failure that the person meets the requirements, which is that's what this is the bill law is saying. But here's what I have to say about this. The bill ensures the right for a person to bring a civil action for a violation of this bill. So which means that, let's say if they decided to block Stellar Blade from anyone purchasing the game because the payment processor did not like it, why this law is so important, a person or a company can bring this action to court by having some sort of legal action that this payment processor, whoever it was, PayPal, MasterCard, Visa, that they specifically violated the law. They violated this bill that became law. And it will get them to pay not only in damages of retribution, but it will also ensure that that person who was buying it gets that product. That's why it's important to have these bills. If you read the context right here, it states everything you need to know about this bill. I'm not going to read this because there's a lot. But as you go through it, you could see everything you need to know, what it could do, and a benefit to ensure banks do not do illegal practicing, because censorship is getting out of hand and it needs to be stopped. while it still can. And Fairness Banking Act must be a law to ensure that these payment processors cannot continue to make havoc, as long as we can able to do something that protects civil and consumer rights. So far, our conspirators, the people who are, then there's the committees too. Conspirators, the ones who see who were introduced to this, are right here. All these. Yeah, and they're all most likely Republicans because they see something completely wrong. Not hardly any D's in this. Co-sponsors, yeah, the original co-sponsors. So I may have said it wrong. But the point is I'm trying to make is why it's important to have these bills. We want to ensure that the fair access to financial services, the fair actions that it states right here, that they're not going to be abused or denied from accessing those financial services to your own money account to buy whatever you need to buy, because of the fact that they don't want to do that. This is ensuring that everything is right, introduced, and applied to this, so we can move forward. It's right that we have laws like this, because without the law, there is a chance that if it's a bad, let's say another party's president, they might reverse all executive orders and make new changes. That will result in having us getting attacked again. And believe it or not, if you look at this penitentiary from change.org, it's still going on. You have about 251,943 signatures, about to hit that much. 5 times more likely to win, because people around the world are fed up and joining the cause from around the world now, that they want this shit to stop. They want them to stop trying to regulate and control what you think's best for them. They're mad. They're really pissed off. Why I say this, why I make this even mention from this how much signatures, you can tell through every single update. And they're also trying to get everything to be requested, because they're trying to get every response as much as possible, if they don't want to listen, to tell individuals like, look, we don't want to tolerate any of this, because the petition is getting so much support that they don't want to see these things being banned. With all these records and all these stuff, they're demanding to stop these payment processors from thinking that something they don't like is particularly right to block and trying to restrict. And I'm glad companies like Valve is firing back at them. I'm glad. There's only so much things that are going on before so much can be told on a company that makes games or publishes online platform for digital games. Regardless of the situation, this is why we need to get laws going in every single country, so payment processors can do nothing to change any of their beliefs because they don't like it. That as long as the law is in place, it can restrain these payment processors from bad beliefs or these activist groups trying to think what's best for adults. And I believe, in my own opinion, these activist groups like Curve Scout need to have some sort of therapy. There was a penitentiary against Creative Scout, but unfortunately it was taken down because I believe Change.org found it to be nonsense. But they didn't take this one down because of the fact that this one does make sense. And Change.org is still having this up because I have a feeling they don't want to take this down either. They know that if this thing does not win, they can get censored as well, and Change.org doesn't want that. They know they can get censored as well. I have a feeling that's why they're keeping it up, because they don't know that it can get censored. in their change.org, preventing their signatures from escaping their content. That's why they have this one still up. Creative Scout tried to sue this individual, but he will never bend the knee. Neither to these payment processors or anybody. He will always be against them and make a new one because they don't have no rights. And all these the people that are signing this, they're showing their true colors and making their voices heard that this is unacceptable of censorship of what they're doing on. Regardless of the executive order by the US president that was issued for a Fair Banking Act, we still need laws in place. Without the laws in place, it is likely going to be harder to combat these payment processors in the future if this continues. I'm making my obligation for everyone out there. Continue to support petitions that tell MasterCard and Visa, including the Atlas Group, to stop controlling what we watch, read, or play. Continue signing the petition. Make your voice heard. Continue fighting back. Continue making a call to your government, trying to get laws like the Fair Banking Act in place, that they have no right to tell you what is best for you or what you think you should buy and what's not to buy. Because at the end of the day, this is just censorship. This is just taking your illegal rights as a consumer away from you. Trying to put you in jail so they could spy on you everywhere. No. Because we already see what happened in UK when that went down. How much backlash is getting. Now a government change is being called upon by the people of Britain. They had enough. They had enough of this. So thank you again so much for watching this episode. I hope you enjoyed what I had to bring to this conversation. This was a while long of a discussion that I needed to talk about with my community. We will hope and pray that we will continue to see changes that are positive and not negative enough to able to get worldwide protection for consumer rights. That's about it. I'll see you on another talking discussion episode from your Zero Power Jimmy Pablo. And be sure to check out every link that I'm about to put here. And that's it. Bye bye.